Most brands are sitting on a gold mine of customer data. They just call it support. Every ticket, review, DM, and complaint. It's not just noise. It's product feedback, marketing insight, retention risk, and much more.
But too often, CX still gets treated like the kids' table. Helpful when something breaks, important when there's a fire, but not always invited into the rooms where the big decisions get made.
Today's guest, Cati Brunell-Brutman, has spent more than a decade building CX and community teams at brands like Birchbox, Daily Harvest, The Wing, Headway, and Glossier.
In this episode, we talk about why CX is not a cost center, how to turn customer conversations into business insight, where AI fits in, and why the human layer is still important.
We also get into the Amazon effect, surprise and delight, retail feedback, and the customer data hiding in plain sight. This is CX After Hour. Let's get into it. Welcome to CX After Hours. This is a podcast for CX leaders and operators in retail and e-commerce. We're in the trenches, scaling customer experience to drive real growth. This is where we step back and talk honestly about the trade-off, the pressure, and the decision that shape not just how customers experience your brand, but whether they come back, spend more, and stay loyal.
I'm Anya. I have spent the last 10 years working with customers, first in politics, then in CPG and D2C. Now I serve as a fractional CXO across multiple different brands still in the space. And my lovely co-host, Guillaume.
Hey, thank you, Anya. So I'm Guillaume, a serial tech entrepreneur. I spent 10 years in San Francisco, and 3 years ago, I made the switch actually to CX and e-commerce, and I'm now the founder and CEO of Yuma.ai.
New York. We're here. We're in New York.
What a start. What a start.
What a start.
So we're in studio in Times Square in New York, and we're very excited.
We are incredibly excited. We had some delicious Cuban food yesterday, which I just want to talk about because it was amazing. May have been a beer involved as well for the experience. And Guillaume, what's your favorite part of New York? What's your favorite thing about New York?
So far? Yeah. It is a podcast we recorded yesterday. And the beer and the Cuban sandwich. We didn't just get a beer and a Cuban sandwich.
But anyway, back to business. We are so excited to introduce our guest today, Cati Brunell-Brutman, the lovely, the one and only. Cati, can you give us an introduction of yourself, your legend? Tell us everything.
Absolutely. Also, I need to know where you got the Cuban sandwich because they're delicious. I'm going to need that off the air. Hi, I'm Cati Brunell-Brutman. I am a CX and community leader. I have been in the space for about 12 years now, I think. And I had a interesting start to my career. This is my second career. I was in theater, production, and management for a decade. In my 20s. It
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell that I am a theater person by my whole vibe. Yeah. A cashier at Sephora today told me I looked like a little Pixar character and I had that energy. And I was like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it that way. I'll be a little Pixar character.
I kind of love that.
Like, I have the energy of a hyperactive hamster. Yeah. Like, I get that. And then I transitioned to CX. My first job was at Birchbox back in 2014 and really started my love of beauty. I started on the front lines as a discovery specialist, helping make makeup recommendations, chats and phone calls, and was like, oh wait, this is the same job as stage management. Like, I'm talking to a lot of departments. I'm coaching people. I'm solving problems. I'm putting out fires. I'm thinking creatively. And it was such a natural switch that I went and I joined the team at Daily Harvest. I was like employee number 10, I think, when it was 10 of us in a co-working space in Union Square. And, you know, just like literally figuring everything out day to day, and was there for 2 years, managed their East Coast team, set up their West Coast team. From there, I went to The Wing, which was a women's co-working space. When I joined, it was 2 girls on a Gmail, and they were like, this is not sustainable or scalable. How do we make this a thing that works? And really helped operationalize their setup and system. From there, I was at Headway, which is a mental health platform, and helped them also kind of operationalize and set things up. I think I was employee 11 there.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was at Glossier for 5.5 years, which is like the dream job. Started as a people manager and had an amazing experience and got to take over last year as their head of global digital CX. And so I was running the internal CX, the external BPO, helping and support our e-com, wholesale, and retail channels, and really just thinking about how do we make sure the customer's voice is heard. It's a brand that's really built on customer feedback and listening to what people want in products and what they think about it. And so I got to be the voice of that customer.
That is amazing. And, as a startup veteran myself, you must be a sucker for punishment because startups are so brutal. And wow, you have been at the giants, like truly the wing. Oh my gosh.
Something about my brain is like, wear a lot of hats. I would like to do that. I would like to wear more hats. And maybe I should slow my roll on that.
Thrives in a fast-paced environment.
Yes. Yeah. Chaos.
Exactly.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's so fascinating that you've seen just the iteration of all of these different companies, also really kind of product agnostic.
Yeah.
With that in mind, so many companies out there still treat CX like a support function. I like to say, it's the kids' table. It's like, ugh. But where do you see the real value that's currently being overlooked when it comes to CX?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my biggest pet peeve are when people like, CX is a cost center. And like, I've worked at places where they put CX in a different room. And I'm like, you're really emphasizing that you do not value this. And I think that what people overlook, and especially early companies and founders, is how much knowledge and insights and data your CX team has. Like, they are the people talking to your customer every single day and should be embedded in every department in your org. Because if marketing has a question, if product has a question, if ops has a question about what a customer will think, I guarantee you any CX agent could answer that question and be like, I know exactly what the customer will love about this and exactly what they will hate and what you should change.
100%.
How was it to get this done at the companies you were at? Was it like a given when you joined them, or you had to like make it happen and make it like, that CX is important, like you need to listen, like that's how we hear from the customers? Or
yeah, I've been really lucky in that I have never said, hey, can CX be in this meeting? And people have said, oh no, CX doesn't need to be there. I think there have definitely been places where I have had to ask and be like, hey, if we're talking about a sale or a new product, like it would be great to have CX in the room, because I don't think people think about it naturally first.
They don't.
But once I say, hey, CX should be here, everybody's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, we'll add you to the calendar invite. And that's how I go to 10 meetings a day sometimes.
Well, yes, because not only are you advising on product flaw design, like redesign, but you're also trying to figure out why orders are sitting unfulfilled for 3 days. So you touch everything in CX, and being able to kind of convince stakeholders to take you seriously, get more involved in the day-to-day of the CX team is really an investment in the customer.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is also speaking those stakeholders' languages. And like for me as a CX leader, figuring out what matters to the VP of Ops versus the CMO versus, the person who is designing the product. And then bringing the information to them that will help their job specifically and kind of cutting through the weeds for them proactively.
100%.
How do you do that? That's interesting, right? Because like, do you change the data you give to them, to each one of them? Like you cater differently?
Sometimes it's what data I give to them. Sometimes it's just framing it.
Okay.
So whenever I started an org, I like to kind of meet with all of the department people and be like, what is important to you? What are you working on? If you had a magic wand right now and like money and time was no option, what would you change? And then I have that knowledge. And if I find something that would like help them make that change or help their priorities, I can go to them and be like, hey, I know this thing on the website is really important to you. And I have some data that I have already put together for you. Do whatever you want with it. But it really kind of aligns our priorities and helps them see me as a partner and not like, CX is complaining again, which I've absolutely complained to people before and been that person.
Yeah.
Like, we've all been that
we
person.
have no choice but to complain.
We are the ones who hear the complaints. So I think framing it as
The voice of the customer, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's what you are.
Hey, here is some information that will help you get the thing you want or accomplish the goal or frame to your boss. Like, I love making people look good to their boss.
I know.
It's great.
Yes. I know my secret like psyop is always like, I'm redoing contact reasons and CX is a goldmine of data. What would really help your team? And then that's the in and you're like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way people's eyes light up when you're like, oh, we could pull that data for you. And they're like, you have that? And I'm like, I've had that for years. I got you, friend.
But let's go back, actually. Like, I want to a small segue about the complaint earlier. Yes. And so we have 2 segments in the show, right? And the first one is called the vent. So stay tuned because the second one is coming up. So this is the vent. And the name of the show is CX After Hours. Yes. So let's imagine like we are after work. Let's say you have a beer.
We're eating our Cuban sandwiches.
The Cuban sandwich and the beer, exactly,
Great.
right? And you have 45 seconds. And it's your time to vent about anything in CX, in AI, in like whatever the CX world, can be anything. 1, 2, 3, go.
Unrealistic shipping timeline and delivery timelines. And I am going to blame the Amazons of the world for this. Sorry, Amazon. But the amount of customers that I have had to explain that no, we are not packing things 24/7. No, we are not working on the holidays. Yes, the warehouse team like gets breaks and has a reasonable working schedule and like can step away. A business day does not mean 4th of July. And I think that because there are so many companies that are really pushing their teams to a place that is unsustainable and unhealthy, customers now have this expectation of like, well, I could get it tomorrow from another company. And that's not good for the business. And it's also like not good for all the people who are making that happen. I love Sephora. I was literally there before this and I got an order delivered in less than 24 hours. And I was like, no, that's too fast. I wanted it in 3 days. So that is my pet peeve. And I think it is partially customers need to like understand the expectation, but it's also partially that there are brands setting these expectations and delivering something that I don't think is sustainable long term. Have I hit 45 seconds? Do I have more time?
No, this is great. I mean, no, right?
I was worried that the rant I would go over.
No, that's good. I think every single one of our listeners will, recognize themselves in just what you just said. So like that was like.
Yes.
Everybody has gotten, well, if I ordered it from Amazon, I would, and I have to be like, I am not Amazon, in fact, no.
How bad is it is like, I'm so curious of this as someone who's, as you are, like in it every single day, trying to think of how can we rephrase this? And the Amazon effect is so real in so many ways. I mean, even for expectations of our own CX teams of like, when are you, and it's like, lest we not forget, most people do have weekends. Like what? And but then as a CX leader and operator, there is a part of me that I'm like, oh my gosh, but why aren't you open weekends? Like, what do you mean you can't find? So I don't know, do you ever feel like that? Do you ever kind of have this sort of, oh yeah, but it would be easier if we just did it the way
100%.
Amazon did?
Yeah, no, there are times where I'm like, yes, if I could get it to you tomorrow, that's all I want is if I could do that. And I think like where my kind of middle ground that I found where like I feel okay with like myself and the way I'm running things, and also I feel like I'm giving customers information is to just like proactively overload them and be like, here's the shipping timelines. Here's the business days. It's in the FAQ. It's on the checkout page. If there's delays, it's a banner on the website. Like my wonderful e-commerce team at Glossier always knew, like if there was a snowstorm or something like that, I'd be like, are we going to change the checkout messaging? Are we going to put a banner up, guys? Is there going to be a change in the email? Am I going to send a proactive email to everybody who ordered? Like, let's over-communicate this so people know what to expect. Because I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver than have people assume they will get something in one day and then be mad.
Okay, how do you manage that? This is great, right, for the customer, but like for sales, right? Do you think that can hurt sales? Like, how do you have to manage this internally to get, if you want to put that banner on the site? Yeah. Like, how do you do that? Like, who do you convince there?
A lot of fights with CRM and digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing is like, okay, but what if we can't put that on the PDP, we'll lose sales.
We are enemy number one.
It does build trust. Like, it depends how
100%. And I think if we have communicated it in advance, I'm like, we've told the customer, we've done what we can. If it is something though that like we put the banner up after this customer ordered and they need something for a special occasion. Like, that's great. I'm going to do a surprise and delight. I'm going to give you a concession. Like, on CX, I want to keep you as a customer. So, like, I will do something special for you. And, like, I will follow up with your email and personally be like, hello, I'm the head of CX and I would like to personally apologize because I get that you need mascara for your wedding and it's running late and this is what I am going to do. And, like, we did that at Glossier where we would, like, overnight things, or, you know, go around the office and be like, who has stickers to send to a customer who had a bad experience? Like,
merch,
let's write a handwritten note. Yep, merch. I had an amazing customer once who their order was delayed and I pulled it up and I was looking at it and I could see what they wrote in their gift notes. And the person wrote a gift note to themselves that was like, congratulations on getting your dream job. And I was like, oh my God, you got your dream job? Heck yes. And so I wrote them back and I was like, I'm going to reship your order. Also, congrats on the dream job. Can I send you some other stuff? And they were like, oh, really? And I was like, heck yes, I'm going to send you some, like, self-care stuff. So I sent them, like, a candle and some body stuff. And just, like, and that's what I really want to empower, like, my teams to do as well, because those are the customers who are going to come back and remember and support the brand and, like, word of mouth advertise your brand.
Do you have more example of those?
Ooh, I
like
do.
That's exceptional customer support, customer service. Like, you know, every brand should strive for.
The one that I remember, I will remember for the rest of my life, and it was like one of my first surprise and delights at Glossier, is we discontinued and then relaunched our solid fragrance. And we were in the process of getting ready to relaunch it. And this woman wrote into us and said, I love your fragrance so much. I wore the solid fragrance on my first date with my now fiance, and we are getting married. And I just wanted to let you know, like, it's been a part of my love story. And I hope someday you bring it back. And I reached out to the product team and I was like, okay, I know it's not going to be out yet, but do we have, like, a sample, a proto to anything we can send to her? And they were like, we can get you something, you know, from the warehouse. And so I was like, I would love to send you a surprise. I didn't tell her it was coming back because we hadn't announced it yet. And we sent it to her. And, like, 6 months later, she emailed us photos from her wedding, and she'd had her wedding photographer take a picture of her dress, her shoes, and the solid perfumes. And I was like, and I cried.
I was going to say,
cried.
The amount of tears you shed over, because, I mean, that is the thing. You are humans helping other humans, and the joy is amazing. And I think, you know, Guillaume, your question on, like, what are other examples? I think it really starts at leadership of these brands and being able to say, you know, we have smart, kind, like, empathetic people who are also, again, like, strategic and not just going to send someone $1,000 gift card.
Right.
But if there's products that we can send, if there's merch that we can send, like, how do we really make the customer feel like an individual and not just a number in this massive machine, you know? And I think that's important.
Back to what you were saying about CX not being a cost center, like, whenever one of my team members would do that proactively, I would shout it out in Slack to the entire company and be like, hey, look at what, you know, Charlotte did for this wonderful customer who, like, sent them, like, a gift card because they had mentioned they had gotten, like, their sweatshirt stolen and we wanted to replace it, even though, like, obviously it's not our fault, but was like, I'm going to send you a gift card and some other product. And being able to shout that out to leadership and be like, look at what we are doing to continue and build relationships, not just be reactive, I think really helps change the way people see CX and the possibility there as a community builder. And that's why I like to think of it as community experience, not customer service.
That's a very bad word here. I hate the word customer service. It is not. It is community building. I know. One day.
Jean jackets, bedazzled.
Jumping back on what you said here, how do you know, that exceptional service, right, that serve the brand, that build the reputation of the brand, how do you tie that up to data after that you get into, you know, like, all the tool you have, like, any data you look at, any provider of data, is it reviews? Is it, like, you know, like, email you receive? Like, what do you look at here to, like, show that there is insight? Yeah,
that's such a good question. And I think something that was kind of a blind spot for me until the past year or so. And something I was kind of butting up against was, I was like, I have all this data, but people aren't necessarily listening. And they're seeing other things people are bringing to me, like, oh, we heard from influencers that, like, this is a problem with a product. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. I haven't heard that. Interesting. And my kind of solve for myself was, I was like, let me look at every channel customers talk to us at and measure the volume of who is coming from where and where people are actually talking to us the most. And that was everything from, like, handwritten letters to HQ to Google reviews to, chat, email, social media DMs, reviews, Trustpilot reviews, Better Business Bureau, anywhere anybody could engage with us. In the stores, talking to our retail teams.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are the channels that are the most omni-channel? So like somebody from Sephora, somebody who shops with us at the e-commerce level, somebody who's at the stores could talk to us. And where is the most volume? And that is where I'm going to pull the insights, because if we're looking at a channel where only 1% of our volume is coming from, it's not going to actually be representative. And finding things like, email and social, I think we knew, but also looking at like product reviews on our website and how many people leave reviews was an unlock for me and actually gave me better data because it was more inclusive, but also backed up what I already knew. Yes. So I could go to the team and be like, hey, this thing I've been talking about for 2 years? Here is more data to support it from a new source.
How do you get okay, so you were selling a lot of product in brick and mortar, retail store. Did you find a way to get data back from there?
We had 2 touch points. One was actually the folks in the stores.
Okay.
They had, and our training team set this up, shout out to the Glossier training team, it was as simple as a Google form that anybody on the floor could just fill out and put feedback.
They were doing it?
And they were doing it, yeah. They could pull it up on their phone and submit a Google form and be like, this is product feedback we heard. This is somebody who's confused about marketing. This is somebody who had a question about the sale.
How did you make them fill out the form? Was there an incentive? Was there something?
There wasn't an incentive. We would share the data with them and also talk to them about hey, this is how this gets used. So they had visibility into your store director is going to bring this every month to the regional director of stores and the VP of e-commerce to make sure that the feedback is heard. So they knew it was being heard.
That's the point, right? Of that feedback is ideally going to be able to give them the tools or resources that they need to be able to, potentially combat that feedback or whatever,
exactly
all of that stuff. That's really interesting. A brand that I work for right now, an apparel brand, we are really, really close in contact with both retail locations, one here in Soho and the other in Melrose. And I think that it's potentially underutilized connection with retail because, that is where you are really seeing people in the flesh, interacting with your product, looking at, and it's, the relationship there I think it's great if you can make it really strong and have it really feel like a two-way street.
Yeah, and I think it also really motivates your team who are talking to the customers if they can see the impact their work is having. And that was the biggest motivator for my internal team as well, is saying hey, this issue that you flagged, the engineering team is going to put in a fix in 2 weeks. And you did that because you flagged this thing. And I think the same for the folks in the retail store was, hey, you all shared this information about pricing on a new product. And we are talking about it in leadership meetings.
Yes.
And knowing that enough people made noise about that it actually affected the business decisions, I think is so powerful.
100%.
So talking to the folks in the retail store, and then when it came to NPS, we had 2 separate surveys, one for e-com and one for retail.
Okay.
And my favorite thing to do on Monday mornings was read all of the e-com and retail NPS comments, all the freeform comments with coffee. I'd open my computer, check my email, and be like, okay, now it's NPS time. And I read every single comment that came in.
We are the same person because
it's like a magazine of CX.
It's so embarrassing. I'm well, this is just Reddit.
Is it a good way to start the week, or sometimes it can be a bad way to start the week if you see something extremely...
It depends on what the vibe is.
It's a risky
if it's 2 weeks after a sale and everybody's where's my order? I'm I feel bad now. If it's the week after a new product launch and people are this is the coolest thing ever, I'm oh my God, good job.
Yep.
Also, some of them were just funny. And made me laugh a lot. Somebody's freeform comment was change the way of delivery. And I was that feels like a mantra. I love that. Change the way of delivery. I'm going to bring that with me in my life. If something's not working, change the way of delivery. Great. But getting those NPS surveys from retail and both comparing and contrasting them with what we were seeing in e-com helped us make sure we were implementing things that worked for customers across channels.
Super interesting. Okay, I have a kind of random question, not random. It does have to do with data. So you're clearly incredibly creative. I think, shout out theater people, amazing. I think you can have a vision, you can imagine an experience. I think, that is what makes great CX as well, is being able to kind of think outside the box. But anyway, have I feel like there has been, and again, you started in the D2C darling glory days, right? Where I was in school being like, one day, hopefully I get to work at the wing. But I am just curious, as we've kind of moved into this later stage of e-com and D2C, for things like surprise and delight and these moments that, are really impactful to individual customers. Have you ever been asked to, we kind of already talked about this, Guillaume, you kind of already talked about it, but like prove with data that this is a good source of investment? Like, have you ever been asked, track this or just anything like that?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have never been like challenged for surprise and delight, which I honestly am kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Because I've absolutely done stuff and been like, I'm just giving somebody a big gift card. I'm just sending people free products. And that's
probably shows your brand well. It seems like,
I've worked for some brands that really care about things like that. But I think when it comes to surprise and delight for people who've had a bad experience, I think your C-suite is getting LinkedIn DMs from these people, is getting they just want the problem to solved.
Yeah.
And if that is me being okay, I'm personally going to call this person and talk them through it and then send them a bunch of things.
Yep.
The CEO loves that.
Yeah.
So the C-suite is getting LinkedIn message from customer?
Oh,
yes.
I love this.
Yep.
Always
Great
happens.
anecdote.
It's
I always
hilarious.
get a DM about it on a Saturday at 3 p.m. and I'm like, oh no, what's happened? What is the lipstick emergency this time? And then I think just seeing we at Glossier read the Glossier subreddit so much.
Yep.
Because also kind of like a gossip mag, and I was like, oh my God, is this play about us? So crazy. And they would see people calling out how great the CX was.
Amazing.
And I was like, we just did our jobs.
Advertising.
But seeing other people come on to me I'm having this problem, and all the comments would be like, oh my God, have you emailed G Team? They're so helpful. They'll absolutely take care of this. They're amazing. And I was like, and that's why we do the surprise and delight. That's why we go above and beyond, because you get the word of mouth brand trust. I didn't have to do anything. I was like, they trust us.
Yes.
And I want to continue to make sure that they do.
Really good.
Actually, should we take a short break?
Yeah.
And we'll be back in just a minute.
Still to come in this episode.
People were like, I got the survey before I got the product. So I wish I could tell you how I liked it, but I don't have it yet.
And we're back.
We're back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay,
All ate Cuban sandwiches and drank a beer.
Yeah. You didn't see it, but it was delicious.
So we're talking about data today, right?
Yes.
And we're also talking about AI. And so how does AI help you crunch that data? All the data that sits everywhere for customer success. How do you leverage that?
I love AI for data because I think about, 5 years ago, Katie, being asked hey, what are customers saying in our reviews, in our NPS comments? And it would just be me for 8 hours reading in an Excel spreadsheet, taking notes and tallying things, writing things down in notebooks and being like, this isn't the best use of my time, but I have to do it. And AI has been such a huge unlock for me of I have years worth of data. I need to figure out what people like, what people hate, and what are my actionable things I can take from this. And being able to use the AI to analyze that saves me hours and hours and hours of my life.
But what's happening with the Monday morning ritual with, reading NPS review?
Well, that is the previous week of NPS. If I want to look at the NPS from the last year, and that's going to be hundreds and hundreds of comments, that's when I'm going to pull my data. And I think my favorite use of this was a project that I did at Glossier looking at our hero product SKUs reviews for the last 5 years. So, the product marketing team was like, what do people think about the cleanser between 2022 and now? And I was like, oh, that's a lot of thoughts about the cleanser for the past 4 years. Cool. All right. I'm going to figure out how to get you this information. And it was as simple as taking all of the reviews, downloading them from Yapo, shout out Yapo, and kind of scrubbing the data and using an AI tool to just say, give me the information. What are the top 3 things people love? What are the top 3 things they hate? Give me some demographics because we have that information, who is buying this, age range, skin type, location, and then what are people saying they wish? What would they fix? And being able to then go back to the product marketing team and be like, hey, here are the highlights from 5 years of data. And I shared this in a Google Doc for, I think it was like 20 different products, and watching them go through and comment on it and being like, oh my gosh, this is what we were talking about. Or me underlining things and being like, this is something CX sees in our DMs on a weekly basis. And having that data for them really, I think, was not to say an unlock again, because I realize I'm saying that a lot, but it was an unlock. And I think it really reaffirmed our instincts with that customer data. And I was able to do it in a week. And I think if I was looking at, 4 years of reviews for 20 products, that would normally be like a 6-month project.
Yep. I think that is incredible. I mean, my gosh, trauma from just hearing the spreadsheets of it all, thinking about the monthly voice of the customer meetings and the 60 hours it would take to scrub through stuff.
Yep.
You mentioned demographic data, and I think that is something that's fascinating, because how often is it that we work with brands that have their customer target persona and that is just not who's buying the product?
Yes.
It's such a blind spot that no one wants to admit.
Yep.
But I think, the power of using AI to really help you synthesize and pull that information is, I mean, again, I always say you're just gathering ammo to be able to, help show people the reality and what needs to be fixed. And yeah.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think I love that you talked about the creative aspect of it, because I think ultimately what we do is storytelling.
Absolutely.
And if I can tell a story of a customer's experience and then back it up with data, like, that is how I get the C-suite to do things that, like, I know they should do. And I'm like, please just listen to me. Here's a beautiful story. And also some spreadsheets and graphs.
Absolutely.
It's so good.
It's amazing. Well, amazing. Next question on my end, kind of similar vein is, I mean, you kind of already just gave us, the runway for this, but curious if you have a specific example, a specific customer story of, like, how you turn that raw customer data, or the raw customer conversations, I should say, into something that leadership is actively listening to or wants to be involved in understanding.
Yeah, 100%. I think the best example of that, of something that, like, I knew and I had been sharing, but the data really backed it up and kind of, like, set a fire under people, was Glossier has this product called Ultralip. It is absolute hero product. It is like a balm lipstick. It's so comfortable. It has beautiful colors. And people had trouble with the caps. The caps fall off in your bag. And I don't want to assume who's had this experience, but if you've had an experience of a lipstick opening in your bag, like, that's the end. Like, you're done. You can bring that to a dry cleaner and they'll just be like, no, I'm sorry. I can't save this. I am also a chronic forget my lipstick in my pocket, put it in the wash. And I just hear my husband across the house be like, there's lipstick on everything again. So, like, this is a big problem. And we were hearing from people who were like, I love this except for the cap. And I can't buy it again because I don't trust it. And that was something that, like, my team was elevating, I was elevating, and this review project was able to give me, I was like, okay, cool, we're looking at 4 years of data. Let's see how many people talk about the caps. It was over 50%. Over 50% of customers who left a review said that the caps were a problem. Either they experienced it or they weren't going to buy the product again because of it. And thinking about that was like a top selling product, if there was a chance that 50% of people weren't going to repurchase it, that's such a huge issue for the brand and such an easy fix. And at this time, we had already been working with our packaging manufacturer to fix it. So they were able to get it clicks now, which is great. But we were able to really position, like, hey, we should talk about the fix and be a lot more transparent about, like, when is it rolling out? What colors have it? We hear you, we heard you. And that's something that I love doing with CX, is saying, we have heard your feedback and this is what we've done with it, because we've all gotten emails that are like, I'll pass your feedback along. And I'm like, okay, but did you? Will you? And being able to proactively reach out to some of those customers and be like, we did the thing.
Yep.
Here is a coupon code to try the new one. Here you go.
Good
Huge
CX.
brand trust.
And you can, I mean, again, about data, you can validate that the issue is fixed after, right? If you look again, you can see the trend and you can see it going away.
I think, to your point, I mean, one, community experience is huge. And I think that kind of closing the feedback loop of, constructive feedback, which is valid, to then the brand actually being accountable, take it, and the honesty of like, hey, we heard you.
Yeah.
Look, we actually did something about it. And again, I think that there's a lot. Brands just like sit on that. They don't use that as a additional marketing opportunity. That is a huge opportunity for retention, huge opportunity for, winning people back, just who have left because of the product. I think to your point, that's genius. But now we are on officially to our second segment. Ooh, so exciting. This segment is called the 10% Fix. It's really where, ideally, you can tell us, Cati, with your genius mind, a practical, low-effort improvement that you have seen yourself move the needle immediately.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to delivery timelines and communications.
Yeah.
So this was one that I both leaned on data and then I leaned on my CX network for. So one of the biggest things that came out of our NPS surveys was people were like, I got the survey before I got the product. So I wish I could tell you how I liked it, but I don't have it yet. And I was like, oh.
It's a very common problem.
I was like, this is bad. This is terrible. And I hate this. And I was like, I bet you half of those people wouldn't even have a problem with the delivery timeline if we hadn't reminded them with our survey that they haven't gotten their order yet. And I was put every single week as I'm drinking my Monday coffee, I was tallying up and I was like, oh, we got 3, we got 5. Okay, I hate this. Yeah. And I was like, I know that this is a low lift fix, but I don't know how to do it. And I reached out to, I have a great group chat called Sisterhood of the Traveling CX. Shout out to my girls. I have to add you to the group chat.
I was just going to say,
you're going to be in the group chat now. Welcome to the Sisterhood. I think there's like 25 CX leaders in there. Amazing. And I was like, what are you all doing about NPS timing? Because we had based it on averages of when an order would arrive, depending on your location and depending on what it contained. Did it contain fragrance? Did it not? And one of my people in the group chat was like, did you know that Klaviyo can now read delivery information? And I was like, what? It can? Is this going to solve all my problems? And being able to talk it through with like how other brands were doing it, I was able to bring that to my CRM team and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this thing that is bringing down our NPS score and decreasing our customer experience. And I think I figured out how to do it. Here's the information I have. Can you just validate if it's possible for me? And they were able to come back same day and they were like, yeah, it is possible. And I was like, great, what do we need to do to make that happen?
For a week.
And it was literally a couple of weeks later, we changed when we deployed it and it was based on delivery date. And just by talking to the network that I had and looking at the actual data of what customers were talking about in those NPS surveys, we were able to better send out the survey and better communicate the delivery information with the customer.
And technically, do you know if that survey was sent from Klaviyo or there was like a system email from your website? Like where was that coming from?
So the survey was through Alchemer and it was deployed through Klaviyo.
Okay. So a small little fix like that, boom, reduce the number of tickets by like,
change the trigger.
Okay.
And
Amazing.
then we literally stopped seeing people say, well, I wish I could tell you how the product was, but I haven't got it yet. We just stopped getting comments. It was great.
So two things to learn here. One is like send those NPS survey at the right time, and the second is lean on your network, right? Like build a good CX network.
Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and be like, what are you all doing?
But that is really true. I'm so happy that you brought that up, Guillaume, because I mean, the amount of times I've reached out to people, I mean, that's how I first met Eli, was like, hey, I'm working with, a beverage brand. What do I do about return policy? Because we can't take it back. I remember, shout out Ben Siegel. I love him. I was like, how do I understand what part of the journey is causing, the most churn? And he's like, well, just see why people are reaching out via contact reasons and then do an LTV analysis on, what is their churn based on, is it a Wizmo ticket that's actually driving churn or is it actually a product defect ticket? And so, again, I really love to think about this podcast as like those new CX managers who were previously a CX associate and then one day they're pulled in the room and we're like, yep, you're the best, the team. Now you are people managing your peers. Reach out to us, reach out to your network because people in this community are so willing to help and have these conversations. And yeah, it's really lovely. So yeah, reach out.
Yeah, DM us all. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What other questions? I mean, I have so many. Can I ask you? I'm sorry. There's just one more question.
I love it.
Okay. This is one that it's so funny. Eli was really, really shitting on NPS. And let me tell you, I have such a deep spot in my heart for NPS because customers don't think there are freaks like us who go through the free-form
Yes,
tech.
and read it.
I am out here extracting the craziest things, putting it in a VOC deck, but again, because it's incredibly useful.
Yeah.
And so curious of your thoughts on, of all of the data, all of the KPIs out there, what do you think is most, definitive in terms of your customer experience?
Yeah. So my hot take on customer feedback is I love NPS and I hate CSAT, and I think it's a fake stat.
Correct.
Because CSAT is theoretically asking, were you happy with the customer service? Yeah. But what customers are telling you is, did I get what I want? Yes. And if what I wanted was $400 worth of free product and I didn't get it, I'm going to give it a 1 star. Yeah. That's not something I can fix. Like, I also want $400 worth of free product. That would be great. I can't have that. Whereas NPS is asking about the entire journey, the entire experience. Now, I will say it's flawed. The 10-point system, and I sat down my husband once, who also works in consumer. He works at a children's clothing company. Yeah. And I was like, those score from 1 to 10 surveys, let me tell you what they mean. And he was like, no, a 7's good. And I was like, a 7 is not good.
Actually not
That's
good.
wrong. So customers don't know that, but I do think it is a better score. The other things I look at are efficiency metrics. Like, I think when you get back to customers and how many back and forths you have is really important. Yeah. And then one that we looked at Glossier, because my team owned all of the social DMs and comments. Yeah. So anytime anybody's commenting on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, our team was replying, was the engagement right there. Yeah. So how often are we internally replying? And in the past 2 years, we went from about a 10% to about a 30 to 40%. And I think for brand reputation and trust, like, how many times have you thought about, like, you see an Instagram ad and then you go and you click through and you see if the brand is actually replying to comments and they're dead silent. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to shop here. Yeah. So seeing that a brand actually engages with both positive and negative comments, to me, makes me more likely to shop there. And so that was something I wanted to emanate.
On review as well, right? If you look at Trustpilot or else, like, if you see nothing, like, not a good sign.
Yeah.
Not a good
deal. Even just like a simple, like, we've DM'd you to solve this. Great. That means there's a problem versus, like, you're not even reading it, or you're reading it and ignoring it. Yes.
100%.
It's funny, the NPS, the 7 score, like, I think it really depends on countries. So, like, some countries rate differently. Like, a 10 is like a 5. 7 can be good in some countries.
The Germans are not particularly
when you look
generous.
at your depend on the country.
NPS scores.
My favorites are people who go a 9, and it's like, why didn't you rate us a 10? Because
nothing's a
10. Everybody could improve. And I'm like, fair, but can I have the 10?
I know, but you don't actually understand what that's doing for something we're accountable for. This metric that is on our...
Give me a 10. Just me.
This is kind of data related, but more of a question as a CX operator. You are a community experience leader. CX oftentimes, whether you want to or not, you are now in charge of community management, social community management. Yep. My question for you, as someone who was a CXer, I don't know if was social always on your plate, or was that something that you had to learn, and were you terrified to do it like me?
Yes. Okay, cool. It was not always on my plate. It was something that I was always terrified of. Yeah. But the more I worked in CX, the more I actually asked to own social. Yes. Because I was like, I have seen enough companies where the social team is like, I'm going to give you some information. And I'm like, hey, that's wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Don't say that. You've confused everybody. Yeah. Or they're like, email our CX team, that I'm like, let me do this for you.
I'll just handle this one.
It is terrifying. I think replying to social comments and then sending out bulk emails to like thousands of customers are the two things where I'm like, oh no.
Klaviyo does not want to see me coming.
Yeah. What if I personally take down the company? But I think having having the CX team do that and like giving them the skill of knowing the difference between your voice and tone on email versus chat versus social is such an amazing marketable skill for the team.
And how do you do that? Because like marketing is probably going to say, well, it's social, like I run ads, I run like those marketing campaign on email. Like how do you voice your concern? How do you get, like your say, and how do you say, well, let me reply to those, all those comments on Instagram? Like that makes sense for us.
I love to pitch this like, hey, you have a lot on your plate. Would you like me to take something off your plate? And we always had, so every time we had a new product launch, we would basically make like a dossier of macros for everything. And we would have separate email versus social replies. And the marketing team and the product team would always get to review them. I was like, I want you involved. I want your notes, your comments. Like, I don't want to say anything. And if like the team was like, oh, we saw something on social, like we're not sure if we should reply or not. I'm like, great, let's put it in Slack. Let's ask the team. Like it's always going to be collaborative, but also now, your associate on the social team doesn't have to spend hours scanning when I'm like, I have 20 people who can help with this.
I was going to say, usually it's something that they are very willing to get off their plate. They kind of view it as grunt work at times, but I think, ensuring that they're involved, because I mean, it is a lot of responsibility to say something publicly versus what is, via DM even or via email. So I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, look at my biggest fear was being the villain of Reddit and getting something I put on social screenshot on Reddit. And I don't know if it ever happened. If it did, I blacked it out.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Well, as I said, I know we're running close to time. One thing, my one second to last question for you, sorry, is, again, I like to view my 24-year-old self listening to this podcast. What is the one thing, someone is driving to work on a Monday, they are listening to this, they're inspired. What's like the one thing that you think that they should take away from this and put into action immediately?
I think it would be to create your community. And I would say create your community in your industry. So like find your CX network, find your Sisterhood of the Traveling CX, create your community at work, like find the people. Like I remember when I got promoted to a management role, somebody else in another department was also recently promoted. And I was like, okay, we're both doing something new together. Do you want to just like have each other's back? Like, can we just like have a monthly touch base where we talk about like, what are you learning? What am I learning? We can like help each other out.
Those monthly confabs. Oh my God. Very important.
And how I got so much information. And also like if they were like, oh, I'm struggling with this thing, I could be like, hey, can I help you? Can I get you some data? Can I get you a customer story? Like, how can I help you? And I think also like find your community within your customers. Like find those customers who just want to talk to you. That was something that was new for me at Glossier that I loved was customers just wanted to talk to the team. Like they would just write in and be like, I'm going to prom and I want a lipstick recommendation. Here's my dress. What do you think? I love that. And it brought me so much joy. And I was like, those are the guys, like spend 15, 20 minutes on that. Like, I don't care how long you spend. Those are the people that we want to keep coming back. And those are the interactions that are going to matter for people. So find your community.
And about that, how can people follow you online?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I am at Cati Brunell on Instagram.
Okay.
And Cati Brunell-Brutman on LinkedIn. And like, please, you said reach out to us. Like actually DM us. Yeah. I try really hard to answer every DM I get on LinkedIn. And I love when people, like the phrase pick your brain is so cringe. And also I love it. Like I will absolutely hop on a virtual coffee, pick my brain.
Yes.
I'll give you all the hot CX goss.
That's quite an offer. Okay.
I love it. Well, Cati, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
are
for having me.
Superstar.
This was so much fun. Thank you for letting me nerd out about data. I'm glad I'm not the only one who reads NPS like I am reading a novel.
Yep, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe on wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also subscribe via email on our website. The link is going to be in the description of this episode, and you'll get our fresh episodes delivered to your inbox weekly. And of course, if you enjoyed this, send it to a CXer who might need to know that they should reach out to all of us, But anyway, thanks for joining. And this has been CX After Hours. See you next time.